Now, when you're the better jungler, you don't always get to win the game, and that's what sucks about the role. The enemy jungler is a bonobo, and you have feeding bots, mids, and tops, and there's nothing much you can do. Except, of course, become an absolute jungle pathing god, so that even if you're only 20, 30, 40% better than the enemy jungler, you'll have a better chance of making that an even 100. Because that's what it takes to win in Season 14. You need to be double the jungler that the enemy player is. And in this video, I will show you the 5 steps to become just that. And let's just jump right into it. We have a Kindred doing blue into Gromp, we got a Lee Sin doing red, and immediately what we're going to talk about is tempo det. This is a new concept I've been talking about, whereby you always look to punish the enemy's mistake when you have that tempo advantage in an intelligent way. By that I mean, if someone makes a big ass mistake and you think, hey, I need to punish them right now, you're incorrect. Sometimes you can respond currently and punish them immediately, and sometimes you only need to respond in a few minutes with different plays. So the whole idea behind tempo det is actively not thinking because someone made a mistake that you need to punish them in the moment. You hold this card until it's most effective. And now the reason the Lee Sin, as you saw, was doing the red wolves into the blue is because if Kindred started leashless and wants to maybe do something mid lane, wants to do something bot lane, he can then react very effectively. As part of the experience changes last year, what a lot of people have forgotten is that while you can't do blue Raptors red for level 3, you can do blue wolves red level 3, and of course that's reversible, red, wolves, blue. This gives level 3, which means if the Kindred is indeed doing as I said, he can react to it with a level 3. If the Kindred is in fact pathing all the way down, as we know, then he can cut in front of them and get a tempo advantage on the bottom lane. The Kindred, though, will be able to respond in kind. So basically, you're looking to try and create some sort of time advantage over the enemy jungler by cutting off their early goals. This is a big proponent of what makes good junglers. You don't just full clear because you can, you full clear because you do it faster than the enemy jungler. And if the enemy jungler full clears faster than you, then what can you do better than them? Or maybe I can do a quadrant into a gank and thus beat them out. So you're always looking to weigh the pros and cons of your strategy versus the goals of the enemy jungler. And when the enemy is ahead of you, or you make a mistake, like say you make a bad gank and they can punish you for it, well now I'm in tempo det because I'm behind him, he's in control of the game, how do I fix it? The best way to fix it is sometimes by not doing that in the moment. You worry about fixing it in a couple minutes and basically giving him something else to do, like a shiny coin syndrome, and say, look, you can go ahead and do the grubs for free. You can go ahead and gank my top lane. I sacrifice him Aztec style. I'm going to take all your bottom side quadrant, you drag in your bottom lane, and neutralize that tempo det through this play. And for that, you absolutely have to head to Virkayu.gg. I have a free jungle improvement resource as well as a dedicated program where we have jungle video courses, jungle coaching VOD libraries, weekly free video content seen nowhere else, as well as Q&As and patch note rundowns, as well as a private jungle Discord. And if there's one thing I'm good at, it's making junglers reach their goals, as we're seeing with the record amount of people reaching their goals at the start of Season 14. If you want to climb faster than anyone you know, jungle diff every game you play, click the link below or head to Virkayu.gg. And that concept then is really the second tip, delayed pressure. So as we jump back into our game here, the Lee Sin thinks, let me try and get ahead of this Kindred. Yes, he does so because the lane's going to push up. How does he know the lane's going to push up? He anticipates it via matchups because it's a Draven. Nice cut, nice angle of approach, free first blood. The Kindred now will feel a little bit like, okay, I'm an aggressive jungler. I like to snowball early. I want to have strong gold and experience per minute. Remember that, we're going to talk about that in a second, a new term for you. And of course now you see the Lee Sin going to the Gromp. So if we freeze frame this, as a jungler, you understand that he got a successful gank off. That sucks from the kill component, but from a farming component, it's pretty good for you. Your second and third sequences will be better set up than his, which means while he goes back to his Gromp here, as you will know he did that clear, you might not know he necessarily did the wolves, but you know he damn well did double buffs plus one of these camps. So when he falls back in, he's definitely doing whichever camp is remaining, in this particular case, the Gromp. It also means that he's going to be perfectly synced up for the Scuttle Crab. So the Kindred now has a decision to make. Do I go and contest this RNG Scuttle Crab on the bottom side, or do I flex to the top side? The reason we go for the bottom side Scuttle is because we have bot lane, roam, cryo. When you have a gank like this, very frequently your bottom laners will go back to base after a shove, both of them together. The laner who died, in this case the Pyke, will actually be respawning before the Draven presses base himself, which means he will be on the map way before his ADC. A good support will then use this to roam, to help you, to invade, to deep ward, and then he will join again the Draven so they can 2v2, have a party, and all the good times. The Pyke is doing exactly that right here. Syncs up with the Kindred. Kindred uses that pressure and level 4 advantage to go ahead and cut the Lee Sin off from the Scuttle Crab. Because the Lee Sin tried to get a tempo advantage through his clear, which he did in terms of golden kills, the Kindred maintained a good baseline with the full clear. And now instead of punishing the Lee Sin with his bad clear in the moment by, I don't know, invading him and trying to kill him on the grub, they just say, look, I'll take the Scuttle Crab. Now I'm going to create more of an advantage for myself. Go to the mid lane. Aurelion Sol's low on mana. We're going to run laterally to each other, you see this. And now the Renata actually responds in kind and says, whoa, 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 whoa. Your Pyke helped you and then went back to the bottom lane. I can also help my Lee Sin. The Kindred immediately, with the jungle diff pathing, says, tempo debt, understands delayed pressure and says, fine, you take my mark, I'm going to leave. Don't fight this, don't coin flip it, you can hover, you can do whatever you need to do to maybe think about contesting, but if you don't have it, simply leave. The Galio, unfortunately, like all top laners, still gets hit with the Q. He should survive because he has Ghost. So that balancing act between tempo and the jungler, someone will have the advantage at a moment in a certain way, but that doesn't mean they have the advantage in the war, right? You win the battles, you lose the battles, but the war is the big thing you need to keep in your mind. Now remember, the delayed pressure means, okay, I'm not going to contest the Scuttle Crab and apply pressure because I'm focused on my economy per minute. A jungle diff pathing savant understands economy per minute better than anybody else. And here is where it gets interesting. Economy per minute is gold plus experience combined. A lot of people talk about the gold Lee Sin gets from the bottom lane. Well, the Kindred gets the experience from the farming. I like to view it as, how do we view these things together? How do we put them together? They're just like the cogs in The Incredibles, they need to mesh together. And you see here, the Kindred goes for the grubs. Why? Because the Lee Sin started here, into the bottom side, and did, and I'll show the map for this, red, blue, and one of the camps on the quadrant. We know it was wolves. This means the Lee Sin ganked, then fell back into his camps, because when the Kindred saw him, he had 16 CS, yes? So we take the Scuttle Crab, we shadow each other across mid lane, he takes a top Scuttle Crab, and then ditches. Most likely, gotta go back to base and reset because he's got that gold from the kill. So now he has 20 CS and he's gone back to base. Think about the maximum experience that he can get in this moment. Is it going to the top side and taking the Krugs and the Raptors that are both level 1 camps he hasn't touched? Or is it going to the bottom side where he's gonna have the respawn of one of the camps, the ability to gank the bottom lane again, a dragon he can take, counter jungling in the bottom side he can snag because he knows the timers of those respawns, and then he can fall back to whichever camp is left on the blue side and go back to base a rich man in gold and experience in total. The Kindred knows this, so the Kindred says, well, that gives me free grubs, and the Kindred thusly goes and does the grubs. Now, obviously the top lane is out of the picture. We use great pathing. Jungle diff pathing always about avoiding vision detection. Walking over the wall, hopping over the wall, not seen until the grubs are taken. In the meantime, the Lee Sin says, well, if you're going to take the grubs and I know where you are now, I can actively go ahead and help my bottom lane again. For some reason, the Pyke overcommits, the reason being bottom lane gaming. Galio decides to rotate over here with a huge ultimate, which means Fiora gets to whack away your plates. Kindred says, better finish off my grump, get level 5, and hold this wave to deny her getting, too many plates. Jungle diff pathing is not only about denying the enemy jungler, it's about giving your laners the best chance of success. Much like the Lee Sin is down on the bottom side here, but at the same time, you can't always save them from themselves. So you let Draven, we're used to that if you're the Kindred. Meantime, all you can do is hold and protect. Total gold amount at this point for the Kindred, 2.1. Lee Sin, 2.7. Experience, Lee Sin level 4, Kindred, level 5. And obviously the RNG mark on the top side, a little bit of waffle pathing there, not quite anticipating that, will give the Kindred level 6. So if Lee Sin goes for this at level 4, and Kindred gets this at level 6, that is a 2-level difference. But the Lee Sin has the gold advantage. The Lee Sin gets it. Huge, huge steal. Q really helping out there. Kindred, obviously in this particular case, it's good to contest this because a 2-level lead equals domination. And so because the Lee Sin had that tempo debt, he decided, look, if I give up the Scuttle Crab, I'm down 2 levels. That is a huge deficit, I need to overcome it. So inherently his risk ratio goes up. Hey, I'm behind. Yes, I've got the gold advantage and the item advantage, but Kindred has the experience advantage, and I feel like that's quite potent here. So I'm going to make sure I do a higher risk play and treat this moment as a zero-sum game. I'm going to take something that's going to give me advantage that will be taken away from the Kindred, who cannot get it as well. That's what Scuttle Crabs are all about, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, the Renata was roaming as well, but, it is those things. You have to track them, and the Kindred knows, look, delayed pressure. If I have to give this up, that's fine. I can apply pressure in a little bit. And obviously, in this particular situation, the Kindred knows, hey, I can give up that pressure, delay pressure, and I'm not too worried about it because I'm still winning in that department. All I need is a good shutdown, another objective, and I'm good to go. So Kindred goes back to base, starts working on the Krugs. Lee Sin knows, hey, Kindred's gotta go and reset on that bottom side. I've got my red, I can take my Raptors. I'm not gonna waste time on the Krugs here, because if I do that, then the Kindred's gonna get free real estate on the bottom side to offset the lead I've given my Varus and my Renata. Which is exactly what happens, and the Kindred flashes to hit the ult, doesn't quite do the save, but is able to pick up a kill on the Varus over here. Lee Sin will rotate to protect. Kindred will obviously know this, I hope. Played a little smart. Nice ward hop into a Q dash. And now the Lee Sin knows, hey, if this goes through, I'm doomed. Better retract a little bit. Kindred keeps that pressure up because Galio's rotating while Fiora's free hitting the turret. And now we can use this to potentially go into their jungle. Obviously the Lee Sin Q does hit. Kindred will go back here. That kick was absolutely horrific. Not really a fan of this level of risk from the Kindred, but at the same time, this is a high elo game and you can trust your laners a lot more. You know that they're coming back to lane, you see the Aurelion Soul, you got the Galio, you got numbers advantage, you can counter 5, they cannot, so take the damn play when you can actually make it, but don't let it results base you. In this particular case, the mechanics will dominate, your numbers advantage will control the outcome, and as long as you make that right mechanical read and the right play in the right moment, you will get away with things. So strategically, at some point you have to make use of your gold, you have to make use of your econ per minute. If you don't do that, you're gonna have a big problem. And from this, you could do Dragon, of course, but you don't have the lane prior. You know they'd be coming out of base with all the gold. Lee Sin has decided to go top side and use Sacrifice Pathing. He has basically said, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot contest this Dragon. Even if I could, it would be useless. I got no camps on the bottom side, no camps to counter jungle on the bottom side for the Kindred. Let me go top side, get 3 grubs, and now play around the Fiora. And the reason for that is he's realized that the tempo debt he's been accruing against the Kindred has reached huge gaps and he's not going to be able to offset it. Look, he's down 30 CS almost. He has the same KP. He has now equal objectives and his gold amount is down by about 100 to 200, which is fine, but the problem is he's been investing way more risk. The Kindred's baseline is higher. But obviously the Kindred didn't know that was going to happen, didn't have the position, so didn't go for the Dragon. Lee Sin actually ends up winning out because of the Sacrifice Pathing. All of a sudden, he didn't lose a Dragon. Kindred didn't know where the Lee Sin was going to go. Kindred knew that there was a possibility of a contest in that situation, and thusly, Lee Sin gets free objective, gets a nice little gank off in the mid lane, and unfortunately for him, he's got a bit of a laner issue in the Galio roaming, but the Fiora is getting free real estate. And 99% of that is because of the 3 grubs, just added pressure there, really able to use that on turret damage. Both junglers doing a solid job, and now Lee Sin's on the bottom side, sitting in a bush with a ward, which is not what you should do, but he used good Sacrifice Pathing, and a lot of the time you will have good things happen to you if you understand why you're doing it. You're not giving things up just because. You're giving things up because you can get something else. And that something else should always add to your golden experience per minute, whether it's counter jungling, ganking into the lane, or yes, just getting free objectives, which is always good, of course. Now the Kindred goes mid lane here. We're able to get another kill for the team, use the grubs on the plates. To this point, obviously, the Kindred decides, look, I'm kind of low. I have a mark I can snack away. Now I've got 4, so I'm fully an ADC champion, and we're snacking up a few plates here. Someone has to go top lane. We got a lot of gold in pocket. Maybe this Dragon just isn't on the cards. And the player who applies these principles the best, these 4 that we've covered so far, are the ones that will often win out in the early game and have a better mid to late game transition. Well, early to mid game transition as well. Firsthand, it's that you need to understand magnet pathing. Now that sounds like a really cool buzzword, but what the hell is it? My friends, that's what the Lee Sin did when he went to take over the grubs for the Fiora. He recognized that he needs to be the satellite, the moon, to the planet of the carry. Sometimes, my friends, you won't be the planet. You need to be the moon, you need to orbit it, shadow, get advantages that help them carry the game, and be the 1B carry to the 1A carry. And that means using your Sacrifice Pathing to compromise your gold and your experience per minute, your econ per minute. It's okay to do that. Usually, it works out in the end if you have the right kind of champion. And it's always good to understand when the win condition changes hat, when it changes form, when it goes to another champion, because you never know in the game when you're going to have a different 1v9 moment. And you're seeing right now, Fiora do 1v9 moments to try and win the game. And you're seeing the Kindred do exactly the same thing. The difference is Lee Sin realized that he was not able to execute the delayed pressure to counter his own tempo debt, to actually get the best econ per minute to win. He had to sacrifice a bit too much and decided, hey, you know what? It's time for some magnet pathing. I'm going to make sure we win this game through different means. I cannot match up jungle to jungle. And what it actually is understanding that, hey, when I have 6,000 gold at 14 minutes, I have enough to have supremely core itemization. You have enough to have your first item, your powerful item, you've almost finished your second item, maybe you've even finished it if it's a cheaper item. you are just in a certain gold threshold that most of the champions in the game are not. You are usually really far ahead of the enemy jungler, you're far ahead of the enemy laners, and you're able to have the most power on the map because your economy per minute, that gold at 6,000 in 14 minutes, the experience you have at 14 minutes, level 9, is the fusion of carry potential. And the Lee Sin, as we're about to hit 14 minutes here, he's level 7, the Kindred's level 9, Kindred will get 6,000 gold from the kill that they get in the mid lane, and the Lee Sin here will die. He will get level 8, but his gold is 4.8. Whereas the Kindred here, taking on the side, level 9, and will get 6,000 gold right at 40 minutes on the dot. Boom. 6,000 at 1359, proving that the 6,000 gold mark at 40 minutes is one of the best carry metrics you can have. I've been using for a few years in coaching, never really made a video about it, but here you go. Now you know whether you are the magnet or you need to use magnet pathing to find the body that you should orbit. And for how to put that together from your early to the mid to the late, you click this video.